I would like to thank the Lord for healing me because maybe at least 4 months ago I was in hospital and I was in pain in my lower abdomen and I couldn't walk, and so like I had texted all kind of people to see could I find a ride to the hospital. And I thought I was gonna die. Like I didn't know what was going on, but I finally got away to the hospital. When I got there, they admitted me into the hospital. They ran all kind of tests on me and was trying to see what was going on because they said I had kidney failure, but come to find out, by the grace of God, it wasn't kidney failure. So that is my testimony.
I'm here today to share my testimony, one that I have been delivered from, and I just thank God for where I am now from where I was before. A few years ago, everything in my life was upside down. Everything was just torn apart, and I found myself falling into a state of depression. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't eat. I was just all over the place, and my thoughts were just cluttered with all kind of bad thoughts. And the more I tried to pray, the worse it got. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. Only thing I could do was think about all the bad things that was going on in my life, and I just needed out. I didn't know what else to do. I cried, I prayed, I cried, I prayed. But no matter what I did, it seemed like things got worse and worse. Until one day I just called out to the Lord. I said, Lord, I don't even know what to pray for anymore. I don't even know what to say or what to do. But all I knew was that God has always placed music in my life, placed singing in my life. Never declared to be the best in the world, but that's what brings me my peace. And so one day all I knew what to do is sing out to the Lord. Just sing out to him a song that had been placed in my spirit, crying out to the Lord, just deliver me, Lord. That's all I knew to do. And Lord, he opened up my eyes, and I said, Lord, if you just pull me out of this, I smile like none other. And I sing to the best of my ability so I could praise and worship you. And Lord, I just thank God for where he's brought me from, because depression is no joke. Depression is a hard thing to deal with when your mind is just all cluttered. You're having bad thoughts, you're having suicidal thoughts. And I'm not ashamed to say it because it is going to bless somebody, to where you feel like taking your own life. And Lord, I felt bound and unwanted, felt used, abused, ashamed. But I just thank God for where I am now. I thank God for it. And I thank God for all the people he placed in my life to help me get through what I was going through. I was in such a dark place, but he surrounded me with people that I felt genuine love, and I know was praying for me wholeheartedly. And I just thank God for those people. So anybody out there that has been dealing with depression, I am a witness that you can come out of, that God can bring you out of it, and you can become new. And I will always say, to God be the glory for bringing me out of my situation.
I am LaTanya, and I am here to share my testimony with you. I moved out at the age of 16 on my own. I had to pay my own bills, pay my own rent, pay rent and everything. And it was not an easy journey. I was still in school, still trying to work, trying to pay bills. And then as we fast forward, I became a single mom. I became a mother out of wedlock. But I didn't give up. God has really not ever tempted me, but he's always tested me in ways. Every time I wanted to give up, he came back, and he showed me ways to move forward. I cried every day. I was diagnosed with major depression at an early age. I cried every day in the midst of family. But as I fast forward to 1998, tragedy happened in my life when I got a phone call on December 8th, 1998 that said that my kids had been in a school bus accident and that I needed to come to the hospital. Well, upon arrival, I was told that one child was okay, he was out, and that my other child was in having x-rays done or having some tests done, and he would be out shortly. While I was visiting with the one son, I had somebody to come in and ask me to call family, and me never having to go through this, not knowing why they were telling me to get some family here, and I had no blood relatives here at the time. So I called those that I knew that were closer to me here, and I got in this room, and then they came back and said they pronounced my other twin to be passed on. At this point, I thought everything was gone. I had lost my mind. I didn't see a clear way. I didn't see how I could make it. And people are always saying, don't question God, don't ask God why. But at the time, all I knew to do was ask God, God, why would you do this to me? God, you promised me that you would take care of me. You promised me that you would, show me that you would see me through better. But God, I couldn't see it at the time that he was doing something great in my life. I went through, after the passing of my child, I went through more depression. I ended up having a nervous breakdown. I was placed in a crisis home where I had to stay until I was better, or at least until they thought I was better. And at that time, that means that I'm away from my other two children, and no one's here to really see about them the way that I see about them. At this point, I thought there was no coming back. After 2 months, I was released back home. As a fast forward, I began to pray more, I began to study more, and it's like God just stepped in and he was just saying, I have your back, child. Move forward, child. And I couldn't understand it. I was hearing him, but I didn't understand what he was saying to me. So I tried picking up the pieces. I couldn't work. Therefore, I didn't have income. Therefore, I didn't know how bills were going to be paid, but God still provided. I didn't know how I was going to provide meals for my children, but God still provided. We never missed a meal. But then God placed people in my life around me. As I said earlier, I still don't have any blood relatives here, but God placed people around me that took on that motherly figure, took on that fatherly figure, people that took time out with my children. And that brings me to how I had a scare one night at home, and I just lost it. It was on the verge of another breakdown, and I don't know how or what, but God made it where somebody was able to call my neighbor across the street, who I didn't really communicate with at the time because I knew nobody. That neighbor and her mom came over at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they came to see about me. And from that, she began to minister to me. She began to bring me to her church, bring my children to her church. And that's how I came to Holly Spring. But as I fast forward, and I know I'm talking today, I can say that I am not 100% over all trials. I can't say that trials are not still coming to me, because I know that I'm having to die to the flesh daily. But I will say that God has delivered me in such a tremendous way that the things that I used to think, I don't think anymore. The places I used to go, I don't really go anymore. Some of the people that God had to deliver me from people, because I was so caught up in, I wanted to be so loved. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves my family. But God delivered.
Good morning, saints. I'd like to share with you how God has blessed me and the wonderful things that he had done for me in my life. Let me share something with you. 19 years ago, I get up for work, get to work, and find out I need to go to the doctor. Get to the doctor tell me I need to see another doctor. Well, in my mind, I'm like, what could be going on? So when I get to the other doctor, the doctor tell me, Miss Mitzi, you have breast cancer. Now, when we hear the word cancer, we freaks out. But I didn't really freak out, because I know the man that I serve, he sits high and he looks down, and he was looking down on me on that day. But the bad thing about it, I was trying to figure out how I was going to tell my mama. How was I going to tell my mama? I'm freaking out. Now I'm going to tell my mama I had breast cancer. And I went to my mom that day, and my mama looked at me, and you have to know my mother. My mother would say, all sickness is not unto death. And I came to my senses. I went on and had the operation on April 11 in 2000. came out, did great. But let me share this with you. How many know just because they say they got it all, don't necessarily mean they got it all. But I know God has it all. When I said, I shall live and not die and declare the works of the Lord, because the Lord has something for me to do. It's been 19 years. 19 years. People that was coming to see about me was diagnosed with stuff later, and they gone on to be with the Lord. So I know the Lord got me here for a purpose.